Srimate Ramanuja Namaha. It is our privilege and pleasure to stand before you and to meet all of you on the occasion of our campaign for sustainable peace establishment in the 21st century. What needs to be done? Ramanuja Mission Trust is a trust based in Chennai, founded by Sri Prasanna Chaturvedi Swamy. Founded in the year 2000, this trust operates mainly in the field of knowledge dissemination and thought leadership for giving the right direction of thinking and action for humanity and mankind as a whole. The trust is been carrying out on a vast variety of subjects like human rights and then so many fundamental issues like women empowerment, youth empowerment, and lot of support to the non-governmental organizations, people-oriented actions, how people have to be generated, people have to be involved in governing themselves. To generate more awareness, the Trust has been organizing a number of seminars and conferences across the country. And in the last 2 years, our concern has been that a lot of peace disturbance activities have been going on throughout the world, and the thinking and action of humanity is proceeding in a way disturbing peace, which is drifting beyond anybody having any control, and things are going from bad to worse. This happens in the name of economic injustice or religion or so many other factors, and peace disturbance as a whole, which is going from bad to worse, is something which is causing a lot of alarm and concern. At the same time, we need to identify what is the correct course of thinking which we need to adopt as youngsters for future. The youth has to be involved in understanding the root causes of the peace disturbance activities which are going on and what are the corrective actions required. Instead of depending only on governments and feeling individually helpless, individually what can we do, how can we make a difference, it is important that each one of us realize what are the trends which have been happening in the last 100 years in the 20th century, and how do we have the 21st century as a century of peace. In the 20th century we have had 2 major world wars. In addition to the world war, there are a lot of human loss calamities which have been taking place. A lot of economic injustice has been taking place. Should we allow the same thing to continue in the 21st century, or we must have a different sort of thinking and action so that a century of violence and war can end and a century of peace for the 21st century can commence. With this main objective, what needs to be done at the Indian level, what needs to be done at the international level, what are the thinkings, what are the thought processes which have to be considered, debated, and put in action to generate more awareness for these objectives. The Trust has organized Grand Global Peace Meet, or you can call it Global Campaign for Sustainable Peace across nations in the 21st century. So with this objective in view, the Trust had invited the first Grand Global Meet on January 3rd, January 7th and January 9th, a conference in Chennai, Bangalore and Hyderabad, inviting leading experts from across the world for organizing this type of conferences. And this is a series in Grand Global Meet. But we have been having this from February 19th, we had this meeting in Pune. February 20th, we had it in Mumbai. The 3rd again in Mumbai. February 25th, we had it in Ahmedabad. And 26th in Udaipur. And February 28th onwards, till today, we have been having here. Yesterday, we were at Vrindavan and Agra. And this is the last leg. Tomorrow, our guests are returning back. Before that, I thought we will very briefly tell you what has been the main objectives and conclusions of this Grand Global Meet to generate that type of awareness and understanding to this brilliant section of youth and the segment of youth of Delhi also. The object is, if capitalism and communism were the ruling philosophies of the 20th century, but 21st century this cannot continue. This is creating more economic and social imbalances and injustices. The main concept that should be reigning in the 21st century must be the reign of humanism. Don't demonize the opponent, don't victimize our own people, consider all people as human beings. And justice for all. Justice for all, entire humanity, and the reign of humanism. These are 2 important values which must be considered supreme for governing all our principles and policies in the 21st century. This is our primary motto, to have 21st century, a century of peace We need to have a complete paradigm shift in our thinking and approach in every one of our principles and policies to see whether the reign of humanism can be made supreme and sovereign. Justice for all, can that be ensured? These two have to be done. All countries who have been thinking and acting in the national interest, narrow boundaries, they become irrelevant. The globe is a small village. Everything has to be on what best serves the best interest of humanity as a whole, mankind as a whole. Every government's action should be away from the blinkered policy of national interest, should come up with the larger entity of what serves humanity at large. Does it serve? National boundaries have become irrelevant. People have to revise their thinking, and artificial restricted thinking on the basis of national boundaries of the principles must go away. We are all standing in a common platform, and there are a lot of non-governmental organizations who have been working to create that type of change in the minds of people, but they have been doing in a distributed manner. They have been doing in an isolated manner, so they feel very weak. Very important change that has to be done is at the people level, at the people-oriented action level. So many non-governmental organizations and individuals who have been working together now have to unite together. The main purpose of this global grand meeting is to integrate, consolidate, and strengthen all actions being carried out by different people-oriented peace activist institutions and individuals. Unite each of them under each respective umbrella to enhance the impact and the ability to get beneficial results for mankind towards peace establishment. People who have been doing isolation feel individually weak. All non-governmental organizations, peace activists have to join together and bring out the possible changes that we need to have in the 21st century. For the thrust of the campaign is to generate awareness on the needs for consolidation, like I said, of people-based actions. And we need to have new international bodies which take care of this type of integrated non-government organizations. We need to have one, the World Parliament of Religions for Harmony Establishment. All of us know that religion has now become a factor to create more differences. In the name of religion, so many killings have been taking place. In the name of religion, in the name of so many differences and fights have been taking place. This cannot be on. We need to have an authentic World Parliament of Religion which underscores what are the fundamental truths of religion, how it should be interpreted in a way which serves peace and harmony for humanity. Any distorted quotations, quoting out of context, justifying their action of violence and other things, cannot be accepted. So this type of the powerful body for World Parliament of Religions for Harmony Establishment has to be established in 21st century for peace to sustain. Secondly, we need to have an organization, umbrella organization for promotion of economic justice. So much of economic injustice exists between the northern part of the world and southern part of the world. We have Europe and US which have been accumulating a lot of wealth, which actually God's creation, God's given bounty is uniformly should be available for all. The southern hemisphere, Africa and Asia and other continents are still suffering in poverty and illiteracy. So the economic justice that needs to be available to reduce the economic inequality that exists between the northern countries of the continents and the southern countries has to be balanced. There needs to be a consolidated organization for promotion of economic justice. How do we combine all these people who are working on this is another important task we need to be debating about. The World Conference Organization for Human Empowerment is necessary. There are many organizations working for women empowerment. Peace establishment is very closely associated with the empowerment of women. Women constitute the responsible and mature and sanest section of humanity. Whenever a woman is leading an institution, you won't have any major deviations taking place which affect the peace and stability in that organization. Women empowerment is very important, closely connected with peace establishment. We need to have a consolidated world organization which ensures that in the 21st century, women empowerment takes place to a great extent. Same is the case with youth empowerment also. Youth empowerment for peace in the 21st century is very, very important because of the energy and dynamism and the idealism of youth has to be channelized, put in the right direction. The mistakes and the failures of the past century of elders has to be corrected, and youth has to be empowered. Youth has to be interested with maximum leadership roles in every one of the fields like economics, politics, or any other field. Youth must come forward with greater determination and commitment to lead the organization. So we need to have a unit for youth empowerment also. And then we need to have change of heart at the primary level. Greed and selfishness have become the basic qualities which are now driving a lot of disturbances. Value-based education system has to change in such a way that value-based education is taught to our own children so that they realize that they have a responsibility of love, compassion, and sympathy to all fellow beings. We all reflect the same thing, same divine energy at the core, at the bottom, and religion comes second. Spiritual understanding of the world is very important. All of us share a common platform which is created by the Creator in the name of religion, which divides, has to be overtaken, and the spiritual base of humanity has to be introduced. So independent, authorized, empowered, spiritual-based education needs to be uniformly brought on to our children. So there needs to be a spiritual-based education or World Organization for Promotion of Value-Based Education will be essential for peace establishment. And then we need to have World Organization for Environment Conservation. We have many under the umbrella of United Nations today, which are being not necessarily committing themselves for environment conservation, but what are the harms that are being done to ecology and environment by the present developments? How do we ensure that development takes place without compromising the environmental concerns? It has to be institutionalized. So organizations working on this have to combine together and strengthen. And then even media has an important role. We need to have a World Organization for Promotion of Socially Responsible Media. This will ensure that media is used in the right direction to put the thinking in action towards positive fields, and it is not used for distorting and disturbing peace. We need to have a separate international organization for conflict resolution. Any conflict that takes place, like you have in Ukraine or Crimea or